Hi, let's talk about integers. It's Florida Standards, MA7 NS. The NS stands for number sense, 1.1 and 1.2. Integer operations. How do you add them? How do you subtract them? Multiply them and divide them. First of all, of course, what is an integer? It's a whole number. 0 is an integer. 1 is an integer. -1 is an integer. It can't be a fraction or a decimal. So 1.5 is not an integer. And 1.7 is also not an integer. So now that we've established that, how do we add them? If they're the same sign, you just add them together and keep the sign. 2 plus 2 is 4. -2 plus -2 is -4. Well, what do you do when they're not the same sign? What do you do when you have -3 plus a +2? Well, then you'll have to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. You would get -1. Bigger number was the -3. So the answer, which is called the sum, would be -1. Subtraction. What's the best way to subtract two integers? Well, it's very simple. Change subtraction to addition. You do this by changing the sign of the number or integer that's doing the subtracting. For example, 3 minus -2. Change the sign of the number doing the subtracting. Then it becomes 3 plus 2, which of course is 5. Another example, 3 minus -2. Change the sign of the number doing the subtracting, and what do you get? 3 plus 2, which is 5. I fooled you there, didn't I? Repeated the same one. How about -3 minus 2? And I said 2, which means +2. But I used the same rule, and I changed the sign of the number doing the subtracting. And what do I get? I get -3 plus -2. And of course, that's -5. The last two operations are the easiest, multiplying and dividing, because the rules for both are the same. If they're the same sign, they're going to be positive. If it's multiplication, the answer is called a product. The answer will be positive. So -2 times -2 is +4. And 2 times 2 is +4. So what do you think the rule is when they're different signs? Well, of course, if they're different signs, the answer, which again with multiplication is called a product, would always be negative. So -2 times a +2 would be -4. Do you think the rules are any different for division? The answer is no. The only thing that's different is that the answer for division is called a quotient. 2 divided by 2, +1. -2 divided by -2, +1. -2 divided by a +2, -1. You get the idea. Well, that's integer operations. Of course, we'll work on it in class. I'm glad you were able to join me. I hope you've mastered these integer operations by this little mini lesson. I'll see you in class. Goodbye.